All right, everyone, welcome to this call with Darin, Olien. We're going to talk a bunch about nutrition. We're going to talk about Shakeology. We're going to talk about Darin's new book, SuperLife, and a whole bunch of other stuff mixed in there. Who knows what's going to come up. But I'm excited to have Darin on the call. Darin is world-renowned in nutrition, and some people refer to him as the Indiana Jones of ingredient hunting and things like that and cool stuff like that. He's always surfing and doing cool stuff and traveling all over the world. And I had a prep call with Darin yesterday to just kind of talk about what we do on this team and within 90-10 nutrition and stuff like that. And I think one of the coolest things that I think Darin's going to be able to do for us is kind of take us behind the veil, so to speak, of the nutrition world and the food industry, and give us an idea and back up some of the things that we talk about in 90-10 nutrition about reading labels and eating foods with less ingredients in them and all kinds of stuff like that. But I don't want to talk too much here. Just a simple introduction there. I'm going to go ahead and let Darin start talking. But just to start off, Darin, I want to ask you just a couple questions to get going here. The first one is a personal question from me, and that is, how does it make you feel when people refer to you as the Indiana Jones of ingredient hunting? Because I know I kind of grew up with Indiana Jones, and I think that would be pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, I have to say. I mean, I never set out to be that. I just set out to find what I needed to find, and it just, my career came upon me because I needed to really understand what I was formulating with, what I was working with, and the curiosity was like, if I'm going to know it, I'm going to know it from the people, from the land, and in the ground to which it was originated in, and that's the genesis of it. So, yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's a fun little tagline, and it's cool, and it's certainly not sexy all the time, because it's a very arduous travel. It's extremely challenging at times, and in cars, crossing rivers, getting stuck, it's roads that shouldn't be driven on. Like there's a lot of things that happen, but certainly I'll take the title. It's a funny one. So.
Yeah, I love that. I don't think I've ever been referred to as the Indiana Jones of anything, but that would be pretty cool.
You've got time.
Yeah, maybe the Indiana Jones of IPAs available within 10 miles of my house or something like that. That I might get that title, but nothing cool like the Indiana Jones of ingredient hunting. But why don't you take us back further to how you even got into nutrition and searching the world for the best ingredients in the world and all this stuff. How did you get into that?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't that kid like at 5 saying, hey, what do you want to be? I didn't say superfood hunt. I was, if you want to take it back to really give an understanding, I was born premature. I was 3.5 pounds. Life started very fragile. I had a list of problems. I wasn't, there's 50-50 chance that I was even going to survive, especially in 1970. It was very chaotic, and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks in incubation, and that started off this ultimately where I am today, because I really saw that, holy cow, this is this is scary. This body can fail. This body can not work. And cut to at 13, after my laundry list of things that were happening with me, and attention problems and a resting heart rate of 120 beats per minute, hyperactive thyroid, and problems in school, and getting kicked out, and like all this stuff. I wasn't doing well. And at 13, spontaneously, I think I saw something written somewhere at the magazine or newspaper, and I grabbed a hold of it, and it was a grapefruit cleanse. And start your day with the grapefruits, and I then just took it and kind of ate grapefruits all day for a few days, and I was 13, and I felt the difference. So this gives you a clue. This was my first clue in, oh, I am not a victim to my life. This is absolutely something that just affected me. Unequivocally, this affected me. This made me feel better. And, you know, this is from a kid at 10 who threw away the medications, didn't tell my mom or the doctor when they were putting me all kinds of stuff, and thought I had, you know, everything from allergies to attention deficit and you name it. I just threw it away. I didn't tell anyone. And so when I did that first kind of quote-unquote cleanse, that got in there. But, of course, I was a regular kid, grew up in Minnesota, and I just, you know, ate pizzas and drank pop and, like, did everything that a kid does. But there's something that happened. I experienced something. So at 16, I picked up my first weight. I was always athletic. I was always running around. But once I kind of grabbed the weight and hit weight training, I was like, oh, shoot, this is a whole nother thing. Now I can kind of mold this body. Now that I'm kind of maturing, boom, this is good. This is, now I'm eating a little better. I'm blossoming. Okay. And so then I started playing college football, or I played football, and I got into college, and I was starting fullback and my sophomore year, and then I got hurt, and it was a career-ending back injury, and I couldn't get better, and the regular methods and modalities wasn't getting me 100%, and I couldn't come back and play, and so I got a little depressed, and I quit that school because I just needed to get out of there, and I started at another one and finished up there, and I changed my major to exercise, phys, and nutrition. So I really wanted to then, for myself first, is get myself better, get myself back, get myself strong, do something. And so I just put my head down and started learning about this stuff, and that was forever now, seeing the miracle of the body through this education. The curiosity, you know, to this day it runs rampant in what this body is, and this grown understanding of this interaction of our allies, these foods and plants and medicinal plants, the interaction that they have with us, the play that we have with them, the first medicines. Then I was like, oh, wow. So the curse became a blessing for me because it sent me on a professional path after I got hurt. And all the while, basically after college, I started playing with food. I started looking at food, looking at supplements, looking at formulas that people were making, and just really almost pissed off because I was like, this is a really good product. And then I'd turn it over and be like, oh, why did they do that? This was going in such a good direction. And so, you know, to make the story just completed here, I lost my father to alcoholism, and that was in 2005. I was then like, okay, and I had been traveling around a bit. I had been poking my head into research. I'm like, okay, no more playing around. What am I going to do with this legacy? And I said, okay, I'm going to start this company. I'm going to hire some people. I'm going to put these formulas out, put these ingredients out that I found that no one else has. And then, you know, I got approached by Beachbody kind of in the 11th hour. I was ready to go to market and all this stuff. And they said, hey, why don't you create some formulas for us that we want to match our amazing workout stuff to this nutritional stuff, and we think you can do it, and do you want to do it? And I said, you want to affect the lives of millions of people, and I believed them. So I said, sure, I'm going to take everything that I know and I'll put it in this formula, and I'm still going to do my formulas. At least I said I was. And all the while I've been, that whole theme of all of that going on since I was around, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of farmers around the world. I was like, oh my God, I'm like direct access. And so there was these superfood companies, I'm not going to name them, but there's these companies that were coming online that knew what I had, so they were trying to get me a part of their company, and it just didn't feel right because I just didn't want to be. The deals just I didn't want to do them, and I was like, I'm going to do this myself, and so that's how I got into that whole thing. It just was kind of this need first. Basically, to thine own self be true, right? So I was just like, I need this for me. And most of my formulas, whether they'd be, superfood bars I was making when I was doing triathlons and doing running, I'd make them for myself, and then some friends of mine and some celebrities, my buddy Laird Hamilton. Before I really knew him, I knew Gabby. He was doing some extreme stuff, so then Gabby says, hey, can you make him some superfood bars that can help him do some of the stuff? And so then I started doing that, and that's really how I got into it. And it's just that continuous evolution, Ryan, of okay, I sit on this information, I learn about it, and now it's ready to share. And that's really kind of what happened. I always am playing with formulas. I'm always experimenting. I still do to this day. I think the science is great, but science is late. And science is not the leader. They are the follower. They're forever the follower. The leaders are the people that have listened to their body, the main instrument. All indigenous people, all 90%, 70% of all drugs on the market are direct from the actual compounds from food. 90% are inspired by the components in food. So you tell me where you want to gamble. You have virtually no side effects that come from food, and you have a forever, ever-changing, never not have a side effect from pharmaceutical drugs. So for me, formulation came from getting us back to the orchestra and the alchemical ability that our body has to receive these plant foods. Food is medicine. And do it not from a big fixed place, but from a subtle place. And subtle choices added up over a long period of time create phenomenal results. And so anyway, that's more information than you asked for, but that's kind of the journey. So I never set out to be the ingredient hunter or Indiana Jones anything. I set out to do it because I needed to see it myself and to find out.
A couple of things that struck me at it. I mean, there was a lot of information there and lots of good stuff, but one of the things that you said was, I was just thinking, you're doing all this stuff for yourself, and, just because you're curious and because you want to see what happens when you do this stuff, and you're just learning all this stuff. But it sounds like you were also sharing it within your circle of friends and making lots of relationships and things. I mean, getting to know people like Laird Hamilton who are doing extreme things. And then, I mean, Gabby doesn't probably ask you to go do that unless you've been sharing what you've been learning within that circle, right? So you're doing a lot of.
Well, it's even like the book, which we'll talk about. For me, people can have a different. As a formulator, it's more artistic than it is scientific. Science is there to back up that which you're experiencing. You experience these ingredients, you've understood them, you've learned from an experiential place. Science is there to back that up. So formulation, it was always artistic. So when I would share my formulas, it was very much like a musician sharing his music. Like I want, and to see a result, even to this day, that people get results on the formulas that I made is as rewarding as anything I could possibly imagine. It's someone getting joy, getting health from the art that you created. And that art is just you. You're a catalyst passing on this information in a particular way. So it's not me. It's me saying yes to the passion, the curiosity, and the understanding that it has shared with me to therefore pass it along. And I still get weird about it because sometimes I want to just perfect something and I don't let it out. I mean, from Laird is always bugging me about, like, I know you're making stuff. Come on. I know you're doing that, so share it. And then, I got to know, Hugh Jackman and stuff, and he's committed to his health, and he's always doing the Wolverine thing, so his body's going up and down, and so I just spontaneously woke up and had this formula flood in my head. So I started giving him some stuff too, and it's that's the fun of it. It's and to see the success of some Shakeology and some of these things that I had that I created is just, it's amazing. And because it's been amazing to me, it's really that it really is paying it forward. And
right.
and so the wild
I
west.
heard that when you said about your father, that you said, what am I going to do with this legacy? And it was clear when you were saying that you weren't thinking about how am I going to make a whole bunch of money, but how am I going to do something good with what's been given to me and what I know and what I've learned. And I think that's awesome.
I mean, listen, money's never been for me. It's like, give me a break. Like, do what you love, and that follows. I mean, lead with money, you might as well lead with a pharmaceutical to think you're getting better. It's the same idea. Like, you never can get well through drugs. You can't. It's inherently impossible. And is there
money? For money.
Yeah, exactly. So, listen, I've been honored to meet some very influential and wealthy people. And the happy, balanced ones are happy and balanced because money is not leading, ever, right? And the ones that are leading inevitably are at your feet going, I need help because my body, my mind, my life is completely out of balance. And they can't even enjoy it anyway because their body's falling apart. Who knows? So if you lead from something other than your passion, your heart, your truth, whatever you want to call it, it's just insane to me because this is a phenomenal miracle that we have. The fact that we have this body that, if you really look at it, no one understands how this thing works. You understand parts of it. You understand. Anyone who actually looks at it, it's a mystery. And you understand how certain things interact with it. You don't necessarily know why. Just like electricity. People can describe it, but you can't understand it. Turn on a light. Now there's a light bulb. Like, they're only creating intermediators to then have a reaction happen, which is a light. But they don't understand what electricity is, just like we don't understand. So my whole point is going back to the power of food, going back to the power of medicinal plants that have been used for a lot longer than we've had white coats and scientists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there a place for that stuff? Sure, there is. But it's not to lead it's not to create health. It's to get us through certain situations. You know, the blanket antibiotic craziness that we treat everything with antibiotics is destroying us from the inside out. And,
well,
you know,
let's take that, you know, we're kind of on that path now. I think slight gear switch, though, but I want to talk deeper into the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and your experience, because I know you've been, like we talked about yesterday, you've been behind that veil, so to speak, for many, many years. And, you know, I talked to you about the 90-10 nutrition stuff that we do. There's a lot of people on this call right now that are in those groups as customers who are just learning about how to turn a product over and look at ingredients. And there's a lot of eye-opening moments where there's things that are like, you know, the example I always use is the lean cuisine or the healthy choice freezer meal that is so marketed as healthy, and then you go turn it over and there's 72 ingredients and half of them you can't pronounce, and who knows if those ingredients are even in there. So, you know, maybe you could take us a little bit deeper down that rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I would say the first thing is if you take the 90-10 rule and you just, you know, go to a grocery store and 90% of your food is coming from the outside of the store, meaning your vegetables and your whole foods and all of that stuff, and then 10%, okay, you're having some things that are processed, you're going to live a phenomenal life. Let's just summarize that right now. So, you know, or you get 90% of your food from your farmer or your farmer's market or whatever. You know, that's really super important because, you know, listen, I have been, because I've spent so much time in the last decade plus in other countries with farmers, from everything of how's your soil to how you're processing this food, to what the temperature is, to how to dry it, to how to prepare it, to how to have it so that it's going to deliver that which is the biochemical signature of what that is, so that it can actually perform what it is in the body. That has been most of my world, on top of it being able to meet from, you know, medicine men to Ayurvedic practitioners in India, to research centers, to you know, people dedicating their lives to this. I really saw and see what goes on in this part of it. Have I had every food manufacturer? No, but mostly superfoods and medicinal plants and all that stuff. But it's pretty much the same in that you expect people to, first off, you expect people to have integrity, right? So you expect, I'm a small town kid, right? And you just don't lie. You know, of course we all have white lies here and there, but stuff like that, you're like, hey, you know, if I'm gonna eat an apple, I expect when I buy the apple that it's gonna be an apple, and if there's something else on it or around it, please tell me. But the industry is not set up that way. We have convenient laws and bylaws by the USDA and FDA that allow certain things to be there. And certainly in the supplement industry, we have things like, you know, propylene glycols and flow agents and flavorings and all of these things that are deemed natural. And we have all of these things where if you don't actually look as to what their definitions are, you can't then know what to look out for, what to test for even. So it's a scary Wild West, certainly the supplement world, because there is no sheriff. The sheriff is, here's a bunch of rules and regulations. We trust that you're going to follow them. And do you think that a multi-billion-dollar industry, do you think that there's a few people out there that don't really care, that are like, nah, some sawdust with our supplement, that's not really going to hurt anybody, but we're going to make a lot more money, and we don't really care where we get it from. We always use these brokers that just have access to all this subpar nutrients, so we're just going to use them. But you're going to be able to put that on your label, so don't worry about it. You have no real thing other than the integrity of what it's supposed to be. The only time that you hear anything is when either it gets randomly tested or that there's someone gets hurt. And, you know, it's a scary thing. And so you know, the place I come from is, I've been on shouting matches with owners of big companies because they keep hiding behind bylaws, and when I test for things and I find you know, everything from aspartame to propylene glycol at percentages that are apparently okay for this natural flavor or this additive, that's all okay, and it's not okay. It's not okay at all, and so.
So there's nobody out there going, hey, you know, it says that there's this much of this root in your supplement, but we tested it to make sure before you go to market, and there's not that much, so you need to make sure you add it. There's nobody doing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Consumer Labs it's a cool organization. There's they have kind of a watchdog thing. This other guy, Mike Adams, it doesn't do it on a bigger scale like Consumer Labs does, but there's some organizations that have popped up because it's needed, because there is no funding for it. It's not sexy. The FDA's not going to spend the money, and you know, so you have to work with people. You weed out the manufacturers, you weed out the suppliers, you weed out the people that are going to act like that. And you find the people that will, and you know, luckily the formulas that I've created and the company I work at, Beachbody and things, that we have our own teams that are eyeballing it. We have our own quality assurance teams that fly around the world to validate everything. We have our own testing protocols. We have our own no way in our product ingredients, you know, and we test it. So we know what we know. Most, you know, to give you a glimpse, most companies can just call up a manufacturer and say, hey, you know what? I want a green blend, and I want it fortified with these vitamins and minerals. And I want you to add some protein to it, and blah blah blah. And they're like, sure, no problem. Put your nice fancy label on it. But the company itself that's selling it, whether they're naive or stupid, they're expecting what they'd asked for, and they're expecting it to be great. But they're not testing it because it takes a lot of money. But you expect the manufacturer to do it. And I'm not saying all manufacturers are out to make sure that their products are bad or that they're selling bad stuff, but they're manufacturers. They're not farmers. They don't know what to even look for when you're talking about the alchemical, markers of a food and what the phytochemical profile is that shows that this is what it is, A, and B, that it has the medicinal qualities in that food to actually deliver on what it has been delivering on for sometimes thousands of years. So, you tell me what you want to gamble on. If some company has a sale on you know, cacao or camu or maca or whatever, like, good luck, man. Like it's just, you know, there's one thing about turning around the label, and you know, frankly, I don't even know how a regular person knows, other than just dig as far and as hard as you can into a company to get your answers sorted out, because, you know, especially in the supplement world, and certainly in the food world, oh my God, like most things in packages and bottles and cans, and like, you know, of course you have an organic label, and that's going to give you certain assurances, but man, it's just one of the most intimate things in the world, Ryan, is eating. You know, it's so intimate, and when I mean that, it's so intimate and so vulnerable. You're choosing to put something in your body, and it's going to do something. I don't care if you're like, well, it just tastes good. Well, okay, well, that lasts about 10 seconds. And guess what? Now your body has to deal with that. So the yellow number 5, the microwaved food, the McDonald's, the whatever, all of that crazy crap that they put in there, your body is dealing with that, and you're going to pay that debt, and you're creating an environment that either life or rejects life, and you're creating chronic conditions that are going to stack up. And that's why most of how, certainly in America, most people are dying from degenerative diseases, because we're creating environments through what we're doing, what we're eating, the crap that we're eating, and the good food that we're not eating. So it's exponential, and we're creating environments for these things to manifest, and that is on us. That's our choice.
Right. I think, you know, probably that's another good reason why staying on the outside of the grocery store is just so important, because, you know, when you shop on the inside of the grocery store and you get those packaged foods, you just don't know, even the stuff that you look on the back and you go, well, I know that's bad. There's still even additional things about that product that you probably don't know that are bad.
And they don't have to put on micro levels. They don't have to even put on the label. So it's not a true window into the product always.
Right.
You know, and that's listen, you know, it's not about being doom and gloom here. It's about, listen, you can have whatever point of view you have about what you want to eat, but your body doesn't. Your body has to deal with it. And people say, well, I want to live. I want to live, so I want to be able to eat what I want. Well, if you're addicted, because that's what we're talking about, if you're addicted to eating these foods, you are not actually in tune with what your body wants anymore. You've dumbed down your own instinctual eating. And by the way, the foods that I eat, the fresh foods that I eat, the superfoods I find, believe me, I am enjoying life more than you know. And if I had to explain, you wouldn't understand. Because lights are on when you get to eat these foods. There's no place where all of a sudden I feel like, oh, I need to eat that, you know, birthday cake for the next week. Like, sorry, like, I don't crave it. I don't want it. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't have like places where, you know, you can enjoy that kind of stuff. But again, we want to look at the choices you're making that you're making that are adding up. You don't want to do those bad habits all the time, obviously. You want to shift, and I really like the 90-10. You want to shift to all those good foods and those good habits 90% of the time. And then if you know, we live in this day and age, if you want to have a few little things, cool, enjoy it. but enjoy it 100% too. Because most people are eating so bad all the time that it's almost like they're beating themselves up while they're eating. So then there's this psychoactive component that's also affecting your body. So you're like, oh my God, I gotta diet. I gotta not eat this, but I'm gonna eat this right now. I'm gonna start tomorrow. And so it's like there's no living in that. It's a prison. You know?
Right.
And this stuff is not a big fix. It's slow. You know, don't just go, oh my God, I can't do that. Just do one thing. Just try to drink, you know, a couple extra liters of water a day. Just start there. And the lights start turning on in different ways. And then instincts start coming back. And then you go, oh, the next time, like, you know what? Instead of this sandwich with this white bread or this grain or whatever and this processed meat, let me just try this salad today. Huge, big,
Right, a little at a time.
A little at a time. Because I ate like crazy crap as a kid too, and it's a constant evolution to what the body wants, and so it's easy to I think sometimes people hear me talk about this, but this has been a lifetime of looking into this stuff, and you know, it's the reason why I wrote the book. It's been 20 years of investigation and use, and there's most things in every chapter in that book have very, very pragmatic things you can do that can send you on a trajectory of health that is not some thing that's so daunting. It's let's get back. Come on, let's use our instincts. Let's use what we know. You know pretty much everything you're putting in your grocery cart. You know what goes in what category is, you know.
Right.
You know what's good. You know, it's for the most part, you know.
Yeah, this sounds like a book that's going to go really well with what we do with 9010 and with all of our groups and everything. And I know I already got my copy, and I know which other people on the team have already gotten it, and we're going to be reading through that. So I'm excited about it. I think, you know, just hearing that from your side and really getting down to, you know, eating real food, eating actual real food, you know, and so let's transition a little bit though, because we talked about the food industry and supplement industry and everything, and you mentioned a little bit about Beachbody's testing and stuff on Shakeology, but there's a lot of people on this call who either have thought about getting Shakeology, or tons of people on this call who are on Shakeology and are coaches and love Shakeology, and would love to hear some of your takes on why Shakeology is different than all the other things in the market. One of the things that I hear, and we all hear a lot of times from people when we talk about how much we love Shakeology and what it's done for us and how different we feel, is the common thing is, oh, well, I already drink a protein shake. And it's always like, oh, but Shakeology's different. Like, but it's really hard to sometimes get that across to people because it's, you know, it's a powder that comes in chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, and in our world, that's a protein shake, you know. So some perspective on that and how you talk about how it's different would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it's you know, the whole thing of protein is funny because you know, it's one macronutrient, and that's somehow the measure of Shakeology, when in fact, you know, you take like one ingredient like astragalus, when it has, you know, 200 to 300 biochemical properties and compounds in there that are synergistic to the body. And then you take something like ashwagandha, which has another on top of it. And then you take then you add on top of that the interactions that they have together, and you add on top of that 30 others, 40 others. Now you're talking about the product is greater than the sum of its parts, and that's called alchemy. So you're not dissecting it going, oh, protein, or it's, you know, it's Shakeology. It's this alchemical blend of superfood and super nutrition designed to deliver health-giving and life-benefiting nutrients for simply optimal health. That's what it is. So when you're speaking about it and talking about it, that's where you're coming from. It's greater than the sum of its parts. And you know, it was this other thing too that I think earlier today, a guy was interviewing me too, and it popped in my head, so I wrote it down. And I said this because he asked me the same thing: what exactly is Shakeology? And in one long sentence, I said, a supplement that contains some of the greatest nutrient-dense foods in the world, carefully formulated to give your body life-enhancing potential for a healthier mind, body, and stronger performing life. That's what that is. And so let me then, with that, let me kind of give a little lens into it. So, like I said, every ingredient has a whole plethora of interactions. Every ingredient has tens of thousands of years of epidemiological use indigenously. Every ingredient is carefully grown, processed, dried in a way that maintains the integrity of what that is, right? So we test those markers. Every batch, every ingredient, it has a fingerprint for what we've deemed is important for that plant. And if it doesn't have it, we don't use it. So all of the assurance that we have is embedded in the processing, the manufacturing, the growing of all of these ingredients, blended together in this convenient, shiny package that is backed up with the power, the potency of what is supposed to be and is in that package, so that it can deliver itself conveniently in something that tastes good, which is, by the way, phenomenal. Because, you know, some of these ingredients are so astringent, because being astringent is also aspects of medicinal activity. So there's tons of different astringent and foul-tasting medicinal plants in there. It took me over a year just to get it to taste good, and from a taste and flavor profile to not have unwanted chemicals in there. You know how difficult that is in this industry to make sure that something tastes good without this weird world in the flavor industry that are somehow okay with flavoring components that are, you know, things like propylene glycol and things that are proven to be not good for your body. But even under the FDA bylaws, they allow for a certain amount to be natural. But if you don't know that, you don't know not to test it. So, you know,
I love that. You know, I tell people when I talk to them about it that the thing I love about Shakeology is that it seems like a lot of shakes out there, what they've done is they've started with something that tastes good, and then they add enough fortification or vitamins to make it worthy of a meal per some standard or whatever. So they start with, let's make something that tastes good and then put some healthy stuff in it. And it's like Shakeology is like the opposite of that, the backwards way. It's like, let's put something together that's really, really healthy and actually, like you were saying, life-giving and, all that stuff. And then now how do we make it taste good?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, in formulating, it was asking myself one question. What do we require as a people right now? That's why there is from the far reaches around this planet why there's these strange superfoods in this product. Why the superfood hunting had to happen. Because why? We're in a different place in space, in time, and our bodies are being hit by stressors of magnitude on ways that you don't even know are hitting you. There's another reason why you turn that product around and look at it, because there's this thing called nutritional stress, right? If you're taking in things that you can't identify and are not meant to be consumed and that you can't pronounce, I guarantee you they're causing you cellular and physiological stress. And the body doesn't know the difference between stress, by the way. It's just a problem, right? So if it's psychological stress or nutritional stress, it's the same thing. The body sends out signals, oh my God, we're being invaded. Can you imagine that if you think your food is good and you buy this packaged whatnot or whatever and this convenient little, fast food thing, and you get so like I just want to live, but it has been shown that there's an immune response that goes off in the body, that if it sees foreign material called xenobiotics, they're things that are created by man that don't exist in nature, the body attacks it. So you're thinking you're eating food when in fact you're eating poison of sorts, and your body's attacking it with an immune response. I mean, do you think that over time that's not going to create a really bad environment? Yeah, it will. And your body has to deal with that. So whatever point of view people have about food, just keep in mind that that's your mind. Your body has to deal with your choices. It's sitting there having to counteract and fight or hopefully thrive with your choices. That's what we want to get people to listen. Right. The power is in your hands to not just be a victim to your body, that you have a lot of power and a lot of choice here. That if you set your body through the trajectory of your choices and drink a lot of water, lower your stress, sleep well, and include and bring in and eat more whole plants, that you're really going to take care of 90% plus of anything that could possibly happen to you. So, it's really about the environment that you create. And that's where kind of culturally, Ryan, we've kind of flipped everything. We're so fearful of catching a cold or getting a disease. That's not how it happens. It is not how it happens. You don't catch these things. You don't get them. In certain situations, yes, that happens. When a child is born and 2 years old, they have cancer, there's issues around that, obviously. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is most things that we're doing, we're creating environments for. And guess what? You invite those things in. So this goes way beyond, hey, I'm a proponent for eating whole food and stay away from your junk. I'm a proponent for creating an environment so you don't have to get hit and host all of these diseases and all of these colds and these bacteria and parasites.
I love that more overall sort of health view rather than just I need to lose weight, so if I eat this, it'll help me lose weight. It's an overall like living type of thing, which I think is probably what a lot of your book is talking about, right? SuperLife. It's not just about let's go lose some weight and look good. It's overall your whole life, how it changes when you look at this stuff.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. If you lead with health first, you get everything else. You feel great, so you want to do more. Your body feels good, so you want to actually move. You don't have to force it. And your body doesn't want to keep weight. It's not designed to want to keep that. It sheds it on its own when it's in systemic functioning of your body. So if you lead with your health first, lead with your knowing, lead with what you know is good for you, you'll get everything else. You'll win the lottery for your body. And yeah, I dive into that quite a bit in the book, where they demystify all of this crap that we've been, pun intended, fed about nutrition and health. I give an example in the book where I was like, what happens, because I get heavy into describing, the detoxification system, and how as unsexy as that sounds, it's actually very fascinating in that your body's every day getting rid of stuff and balancing the body. Every day, every second, putting a huge amount of resources and energy into doing that so that you don't have to actually worry about it, so that you can just live. And when we do all these things and we eat all this kind of food, it's like clogging up your detoxification system, and your body falls behind. So it's like, if I put the garbage out, I expect the garbage man to come by. But if you undermine your body, and if you feed it all of these things, and take antibiotics all the time and all that stuff, guess what? The garbage man doesn't show up anymore, or comes every month. What happens? If you look outside and you see your weekly garbage in front of your driveway and it's not taken, what then manifests? What then manifests is bacteria, parasites, it starts to smell, starts to rot. It's exactly what happens in the body. It's exactly what happens in the body. So if you
analogy, I like that.
If you put garbage in, and if that's all you're doing, you're undermining every system of the body. Your body's already putting so much energy into keeping you balanced, but now you're putting garbage on top of it. You can't get rid of it. So now you're creating this environment where, what does it do? It invites bacteria and parasites. There has no choice. You're creating an environment. So then you become a host to disease. So this is a radically different view of health. You're hosting or you're rejecting, right? So you're hosting it, or you're hosting health. So if I create an environment, I sleep well, keep my stress down, eat a lot of alkalining plants, guess what? That doesn't, the intelligence of a parasite, the intelligence of bacteria comes into our body, because even bacteria, parasites, cancer cells are coming in our body every day, all of us, all the time. The difference is when those cells and molecules that are passing around in our environment that come in, the intelligence of that organism itself says, can I thrive and survive in this environment? And if it can, often through low oxygen levels in your body and low pH, high acidity, all of these things create an environment to then go, yeah, I'm Mr. Cancer Cell. I can live here. So I'm going to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Same with a cold. I was laughing. Someone says, "Hey, I have a cold. I don't want to touch your hand." I'm not afraid of that. You're not catching a cold. I'm like, I'm good. I slept well. I drank a lot of water. I'm strong. My environment is strong. You know, for me, if I ever get a cold, it happens through stress. Like if I'm working too hard or I'm on a plane for too long, my body gets stressed, and then I can actually be open to. But it's not because I'm ate something weird or I'm not drinking enough water or not getting enough sleep. There's a lot of different ways, but the idea is that we're hosting the environment, and with the environment that you're creating, you get those things that can live or not live.
And you talk about all this in your book too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. A lot in your book. That's awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah.
To read it.
The things that identify the 5 life forces are these kind of broad but powerful life force principles that are governing the body and are creating these environments to thrive in. And that's through the quality of nutrition, the hydration, oxygenation, alkalinization, and detoxification. These guys, and of course there's many other chapters in there describing, you know, how too much protein is undermining your body and your immune system and actually eventually going against you in your...
So we shouldn't be buying the 5-gallon tubs of whey protein from GNC and eating scoops of it while we're in the gym?
Well, I think you probably can equate from many different aspects of how gnarly it would be to buy anything from something like GNC, and to think that you're getting a quality product. But we listen, innately, food, almost all whole food has almost every element in it. It's got, even kale has fat, it's got protein, it's got certainly almost all the amino acids. And I dive into that quite a bit. Amino acids are one of the most sustainable things in your body. Your body doesn't want to get rid of them even after it's used them. So it recycles amino acids because in our nature, the body had a hard time with amino acids. So we keep them, and so our body's real need for protein is very small compared to what people are talking about. So it wasn't my attempt to turn things on their head, but our culture has turned things upside down. So a lot of the book is very conversational. There's a lot of great tips and to-dos and lists of stuff that help, from foods that help the brain to weight loss to everything else. But it's also this very pragmatic thing that kind of rights the ship again. And hopefully can, once people read it and digest it and go back to it and use it as a manual, you can kind of get through this kind of insane fad stuff that we have, that some people have this, they sell something and there may be some science to it, but then there's lies attached to it and how they're explaining it, and then it confuses people. It's a very confusing industry.
Right.
Because ultimately we want to feel good.
Exactly. That's the ultimate goal, right? Well, can you tell people how to? We've already been on here an hour, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. But I've got 3 more quick things, so we'll make them as quick as possible. The first thing is, can you just tell people where to get your book?
Sure.
What's the best place to go?
Well, I would first say I launched a new website too, SuperLife.com, and please sign up for the newsletter because it's an opportunity for me to dump more information on you and share from my perspective. I've got an amazing team helping me with that. So sign up for the newsletter, get on there. All my social media, get on there. It's SuperLife Living, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And then the book, I have links to Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all of the links on the website. But what I ask right now is, because we're at number 2 on one of the bestsellers, go to Amazon and buy it off of Amazon. Write a review if you like the book, and I think that might pop us to a bestseller on there. And I'd really appreciate it, because this is fun for me to step out from beyond the jungle and share this information. So, yeah. So
awesome. Okay, so SuperLife.com and buy the book on Amazon.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so 2 more quick things. One, several people on my team want to know what your favorite Shakeology recipe is.
Oh gosh, it changes all the time, but I think for me, Shakeology is always the base. And then, because I'm always playing, I'm always experimenting, I put, well, I'll tell you my base. My base is usually soaked chia seeds, water, ice, whole frozen organic berries, because often they are picked at when they're more ripe, and when they're frozen, they're often better if I can't find fresh. And then the soaked chia, like I said, I love me some almond butter and a huge amount of coconut oil, and actually avocado is amazing. I am a big fan of fat. It's another chapter in my book. And the I kind of lean towards the strawberry tropical Shakeology mostly. And then,
okay.
And then it would take too long to tell you all the little superfoods that I put on top of it. But
okay.
That's the base, basically. So, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, good. My favorite is carrot cake Shakeology, and my team's going to laugh that I had to mention that, but I had to, because we go back and forth on what they are. I put carrot juice and almond milk and cinnamon and vanilla Shakeology and make a carrot cake.
Wow.
That's one of the best ones. But they all wanted to know what your favorite was, so I think we got strawberry tropical there. And then the last thing is some people wanted to know about the sustainability in all the countries where we get the Shakeology ingredients. Like, what does it do to the local economies there and all that kind of stuff? Is it good for them too?
Oh man, I mean, this is a Pandora's box. This is a very long discussion, but I can just say
just give us the short. The short is fine.
I can say in a nutshell that this is, because I've met so many farmers and because I have relationships with them, and sometimes as long as 10 years, this is something extremely important to me, and something that we're now in our next level, our next evolution, because we're getting so big. This is becoming more and more important for us, and again, this is the integrity of Beachbody and Shakeology, is we get to actually make it really fair for the farmers, and it changes their world. It gives them economy, and supports their family in such an amazing way. And the great thing is that some of these rare superfoods are in rare places, and so these people don't have as many options, if at all. So this is an incredible aspect of what I do, and it is about the people, and it's about the people that are consuming it, and it's about the people that are growing it, and everyone has to win. So that's always been the theos of my existence, is if it's good for the farmer and good for the customer, then everyone's got to win along the way.
Excellent. I love to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that. Well, I don't have any more questions for you. If there's anything else you want to say about your book or about anything that we've talked about, then feel free. But otherwise, I just want to thank you so much for being on the call and taking so much time to really talk to us about your experiences and all the things you do.
You're so welcome. I'm excited to get more information out and share my unique perspective, and hopefully that will help people along the way. So I'm grateful. Thank you for your time as well.
All right. Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you so much again, and thank you guys for being on the call, all you listeners out there, and good night.